floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.
Nope, that was not a good smile. Luke told me to smile, and my face did a whole thing. Hi, everybody. We're here. We're back. We're live. We're on time. We're on the right night. I'm back in my basement. I feel like I haven't been down here in months. Accurate. I really haven't. So here I am. It's new and painted, but my bookshelves are back. And we are here continuing on in The Stand, part 4. Although really it's book 2, but our part 4, chapters 48 through 52. About 175 pages, which is a lot of pages for 5 chapters, but it was totally worth it. All right. Ready?
Yeah. So yeah, it was about 8 hours audiobook time again. That's the one thing. I don't even think you did that on purpose, Melissa, but I think each one's been right around 8-ish hours, each split part.
Well, technically, since they're all about 200 pages long, I would assume the timing would be also similar.
True. Yeah. I'm just saying, like this one, it fit very much with the rest because I was thinking, okay, 5 chapters, it'll be a little easier to do. And then we get into a 2.5 hour first chapter.
As an overall thought on that topic, I felt like this did not feel nearly as long in general. Like it felt like it went so quick to me because there are so few chapters. And I don't know if that's the reason or if, I don't know, I'm more invested now or whatever. I just felt like it was quicker to get through because a lot feels like it happened. And also it's moving. Things are actually happening.
All right, everybody. Well, if you are new here, we kindly ask for you to subscribe. And if you have been here before, welcome back. Make sure, everybody, that you hit that thumbs up button and share this with a friend who loves Stephen King books. I would like a bonus that I actually remembered to post this on our Facebook page this morning or this afternoon. So, if you are joining us from there, good job. Glad to have you. And we're going to jump right into chapter number 48.
He came staggering and flapping up a long upgrade, the heat of the sun stewing his stomach and baking his brains. Trashy! Trashy's been doing it tough. Suffering from burns, wanted to die before the dark man came in a dream and offered to lift him up high, to let him burn the whole world. We have some recounting of Trashy's epic journey. He meets the kid, another section originally cut from the early editions. Pretty ugly story. The kid, a criminal, rapes him. Flag sends wolves to punish the kid. Trashy arrives in Las Vegas, better known as Cibola. He works on a hydroelectric dam. He witnesses a crucifixion. He meets Mr. Randall Flagg. It's about 24,000 words, and we spend a hell of a long time with Trashy.
Yeah. So, and by the way, as we point out each time, these summaries are from John Birmingham. We'll post a link somewhere.
I believe it's in the video description.
Perfect.
So I'll put it in the chat right now as well.
So yeah, shout out to him for that. And yeah, I love this chapter. I said last time, like without going ahead, without knowing what was coming, I'm like, I want to get more from Trash Can Man. I want to get more of his story again. And so we got the chapter first thing. I'm like, okay, cool. And no cheat, no skip forward. But I enjoyed this chapter. It was there was a lot of annoyances, like a lot of like word vomit, repeating kind of phrases that do the earworm thing that tends to bug me. There's a lot of those in this one, which for the most part, I was okay, but don't ask me. I'll tell you. Don't ask me. That one, I just want to punch the kid. I'm glad
technically it's don't tell me, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, whatever it was, but like the kid was definitely written perfectly to be just a piece of shit character, and you wanted him to die. And actually, I loved his fate too. Perfect fate for the kid.
Do we know that he's officially dead, or is he just mostly dead?
That's what makes it great. He officially was not dead, but those wolves weren't moving. Yeah.
I would like to point out that I like that Trashy blew up a town, like a really big ass town. Indianapolis, was it?
No,
Is that
no,
right?
no. It was in Indiana. It was what town was it in Indiana? It had the oil fields because it was then mentioned
Good night.
later in a later
Wave goodbye to
chapter.
YouTube.
I'll be famous one day.
I'm trying to remember the large
know who
towns in
that kid
Indiana.
is.
Yeah, I can't
Sorry.
remember it.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, so we actually had some precursors either early on or later on, of having to go around. That some of our travelers through the country saw the remnants of the fires. And so I like that, and I can't remember if that was before we got to Trashy's thing, that somebody had seen a fire, and then after Larry also went through it. But I think there's been spots of, man, it looked like somebody blew up something. And yes,
it was
yes,
Gary.
he did.
Gary, Indiana.
I'm sorry, the Music Man song just hit in my head. Gary,
Yeah.
Indiana,
Mhm.
Gary, Indiana. I'm stopping,
And he spent time in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Well, that's-
with the mental.
That's where
which
his
is not that exciting.
correctional
Sorry,
facility
Tara.
is.
Yeah.
Early on in life where he got sent. So
Yeah.
yep.
Mhm.
And he was planning on going to Chicago to set it on fire
Yes.
when
Yes.
he changed courses to head straight to Cibola, Las Vegas instead.
Mhm.
And then he crosses through Nebraska, and all of his radio frequencies get shut off. And
Before he
starts
did that, he passed through the Quad Cities in Iowa too, which I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. So
Shout out Quad
Yeah.
Cities.
yep.
And but yeah, he, so
On
he
bicycle.
goes-
Can we just okay,
Yep.
I'm sorry. I have to go back to this. Everybody else by this point is like traveling via moped or motorcycle, or
Mhm.
we've got like the trucks that are pulling through, but Trash Can Man is hauling ass on a bicycle. I have driven through Illinois many, many times, and I don't care if it is a 2-hour drive or a 5-hour drive. It feels like a lifetime, and I'm in a car on a bike.
it's at least flat.
It's very
I always-
flat.
I mean, true. I'm not complaining, but oh,
Yeah,
That would-
and
that
it's-
would be
well, and
long.
you figure he made it all the way to the Rockies on the bike, and then in the car for, let's say, 100 miles with the kid, maybe a little further.
it's only
But
2
then-
days.
Probably
with the
further than
kid.
that. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, you're right. 2 days, probably, let's say 600 miles into the Rockies, but then walks the rest of the way to Vegas. Doesn't
Mhm.
even have the bike, so
Huh? No, he had a bike. He had a bike because it was then he got a new bike after he got out of the whatever, because it was as he was like in the desert that he flipped and popped the tire on the newest bike.
you're right.
But he
And
does
walked
walk
in.
the last leg after riding
He
on a bike
does.
again for a while through the desert.
Mhm.
You're correct about that.
All right.
So,
So
I do-
so
do-
we,
oh,
I was
sorry,
going to say, are we going to go chronologically and let's just do his trip and talk about the kid, and then we can talk about the entrance into Vegas?
Sure. Obviously, the question is because the chapter jumps back and forth. We actually start
Mhm.
with him seeing Las Vegas, and then we basically, in his head, he's recounting back his own story, and it jumps back and forth a few times. So I think chronologically probably makes most sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Go for it, Ben.
So yeah, I mean, basically, we see the start. He first sees it, then we jump back to just leaving Gary, Indiana. He's burnt, like his arm is royally burned because that was from the last chapter, was him going up the tower to set the fire, and he didn't time it right and had to jump off the tower, burned his arm, and so arms blackened, 3rd, 4th degree burns, and he's finally gets some to medical supply area. Gets that. His training from the Corrections Institute he knew how to use the morphine and everything, but he didn't realize that the morphine would make him thirsty. And so that was a big issue for him, was just the amount of water he had to drink every day. And then, he kind of gets assigned, just south of Chicago, to head west. He gets the call from Randall. I forget what the exact turning point was, like if there was a absolute sign or was it just the dreams.
I think it was his
can't-
dreams.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
I'm almost positive he had some dreams and was like, come, we're going here.
It's
Okay.
I'm having a hard time remembering specifically too because he did jump back and forth so many times that
Mhm.
I'm like confusing what he's remembering and what were like newer things. But I thought there was maybe an interaction with a wild like a wolf early on, like around the Illinois, which is what made him change.
I had the
I thought
same
there was
thought,
something,
but I think
could
that
be
might have been a
wrong.
dream of. I think it was a dream
I
of a
think it
wolf.
was the dream.
That
It was
and
a,
the
it was a
wolf.
dream.
Yeah,
It was a dream.
and the
of a
wolf said,
with
"Come,
his-
come,
Yep.
come west." Yeah,
So
and so yeah,
both
I had the
answers
same
are
thought.
correct, I think, in some fashion. It was the wolf,
Yeah,
but it was Randall Flagg in the dream talking to
exactly,
him. So yeah, and he had the
exactly.
red eyes with the deep, deep pools, and the wolf had those. So yes, that's what I was. We're good. Dream
Yep.
changed directions to go instead of burning Chicago to head straight to Las Vegas.
Yeah, a good thing he didn't come down 55 because there would have been plenty to burn in St. Louis too. Hell, in 1990 there was enough empty buildings, much as there's now. Anyway, uh, but yeah, so he moves past Nebraska. Like I said, he gets a radio frequency kind of mess up around Nebraska, especially around Hemingford home, and he actually does start dreaming of Mother Abigail a bit, like getting slight dreams. So we're getting kind of the sides of both sides now because we had all of our protagonists for the most part had dreams of Mother Abigail and Randall Flagg. Now it's the reverse. Hers was just stronger and she was drawn more to him. So it's could have been very possible for him to make that hard left and go to Hemingford home and stick it out there because I think he actually was in the area date wise before even Nick made it to Mother Abigail. I think he was early August there, and that was before Nick and anybody had made it to her, or very
I
late
think
July.
no, Nick got to her in end of July because they were in Denver by August, I think. Weren't
Okay.
they? I need a
I do
timeline.
not remember
I know.
specifically.
Yeah, but still, it's one of those. I know it was close. I think I had for some reason have a feeling that she was still in Nebraska at that time.
I think she definitely was because I think it's when she had the dreams of the weasels because he had a dream where he was a weasel trying to attack
Mhm.
her. And so I think that was those things working together. Those were common things that they shared in real time at that moment is how I read that. So I think that she was still there. I'm just guessing, but because I was thinking of it in that way. I don't know the timeline that well, but
Yeah.
yeah, he had no flag isms, if you will, as soon as he crossed into Nebraska until he got out of it. The entire state was black zoned for him for getting contact with flag. So I thought that was interesting. And he does make it across. Has anything else happened in Nebraska? Or then he's just like, I got to get out of here. This is not good. Like, this is not working for me.
I think
he
Brad
was
did-
actually he made it to Nebraska by July 14th, which is why he's so much earlier. It was on the west side of the Missouri that Trash first suspected that God himself might intervene between Trash Can Man and his destiny. There was something wrong about Nebraska, dreadfully wrong. I just like that the perspectives are so different that we've gotten Randall Flagg bad, Mother Abigail good. I really appreciate that we're seeing, at least from Trash Can Man, the reverse. And so I wonder how many other people not only had the positive Randall Flagg, but also the negative Mother Abigail. And what this is more of a higher order thinking question, if you will. What is it in each person that gave them that which perspective of dreams?
Let's maybe ask that as a question when we get to questions. I'll make a note of it.
Okay, you got it.
If you can have it as your question, I'll just make a note of it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because very similar thoughts to that, Melissa. And but yeah, and so after that, I think we jump back into Vegas. He's getting closer, getting closer. I think this is when he gets to the water fountain. He dunks his head. Then we get a flashback to the kid. Before he's greeted by anybody, we get the kid story. Long story short, kid's an asshole. Kid's a piece of shit that threatens Trashy several times by just murder, with death and murder. Ends up raping him, sodomizing him with a barrel of a gun. And then also makes the comment of, I'm going to go west and I'm going to see what's going on. And then I'm going to take over. And Trashy's already said, my life for yours has already committed, himself to Randall and everything. And yeah, that's not a smart thing to say to somebody like that. Just not. It's never a good idea to, go after or to defame a god to a zealot.
Yeah, it was a little questionable. I mean, this is definitely a very cocksure guy, right? I mean, he is bravado to the nines. That's about all he has to offer, it seems like, and he's gonna throw his weight around, even though he's a very small person. He was he's 5'3". His pompadour haircut made him 5'6", and the platform shoes he wore made him 5'9". And at the same time, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being short, but this guy is definitely trying to compensate by being over the top for probably that's just how he probably grew up a little bit, and has to be bigger than life to make himself feel like he's a part of an intimidating role. But yeah, we were talking about, like you said, a deified character that a zealot is being told, I'm gonna, lay low, and then I'm gonna take over because I don't work for nobody. If I'm on the crew, I run the fucking crew. And like, dude, you've been getting these messages in your brain from this character. Why would you think you're not being surveilled at the whole time too? Like, Flag obviously knows what you're saying. Like, you're not hiding anything from him. It's like, it's so stupid. Like, what an idiot. That's for me. I was like, you just don't say anything and try that. Go ahead. Like, that's fine. But the braggadociousness of it is pretty just ill-advised.
Oh yeah. Now I will say that. Oh, go ahead, Melissa. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say this section did give me a drive goal. I need to drive through the the Uzenheiser tunnel. I need to, because I've never. I mean, I knew there was a tunnel like that, but I'd like to get on the highway right out here and go that way and do it because it's right down Highway 70.
Same road.
Right down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Way down. But it's one of those that's a bucket list kind of.
Hey,
just
I could hit with a baseball right now. I could throw a baseball to it from here.
Yeah.
Same.
I get it. Well, no, I'm
no, you're slightly farther, but yeah, like I liked that Trash Can Man couldn't go through it on his own through the tunnel.
Yeah,
because for as crazy as that motherfucker is, Trash Can Man. Yes, kid is crazy, but kid is like typical asshole man crazy. Trashy is still like broken mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Is how I see him, but he's such an empathetic character.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's enjoyable. He's enjoyable to be in his head for sure. And
I'm rooting for him.
I felt bad for him. I did. It sucked for him for sure. And
then he almost died of dehydration.
Yeah.
After all that, and he, I mean, I get it. We got the kid, we've got the wolves. The wolves give him the power to get through the tunnel, right? And he needed that.
Can we work on the tunnel for a minute too? Because I really liked that section where we have the narrator. He knows what we know. The narrator in the book, and we get the Larry Underwood version, which I think was like 2 days beforehand, is what they said. Or pretty recently.
It had just
beforehand, and it was like, well,
it was not 2 days because it had to
be like maybe 2 weeks or something.
3 weeks, and probably 3 weeks.
Yeah. Either way, it was not too far ahead of that,
right.
And it was a very similar situation, but there are also differences in characters, differences in geographic location, and I just liked that the narrator kind of had that discussion with us, because I was thinking the same, like, another tunnel, really? Like, I liked that we had that aware narrator voice along there, because I thought we have that every once in a while where it's like, oh, and then you reference to another character just so you have like some placement in time or a relative thing. This is more like an emotional thing that these two characters went through, and they handled it very differently.
And here's why they handled it very different, because he even went into that detail of like, Larry might be kind of a whatever, but he's not broken. And Trash Can Man, through his whole life, he's broken. Of course, he turned back around.
Yeah.
That was before the wolves, right?
Yes, because he goes back and basically the kid threatens him to move this bus out of his way so
He
he can
tries
get his
sneaking
car around.
past the kid.
Move that
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah, right. I get that reference.
Yep.
So he first tries sneaking past him, gets caught, and kid basically says, "You have 15 minutes to move this VW bus out of my way, or you're getting dead. You're getting killed."
Getting
And
dead.
all of a sudden, a wolf shows up. Then another one. Then another. And then another. And they basically Come on, right back there. Yep. The kid does not get eaten by the wolves. He does get attacked, but he gets chased into his very nice car, or I don't even think it was his car. I think it was another car. They couldn't get started or something. And the wolves just sit there and wait. Windows up, no AC, no gas to, get moving. Kid's just stuck in the middle of the Colorado Rockies, in his car with a pack of wolves waiting by him. The rest of the pack decide, you know what, Trashy, we got you. And literally one of them, I believe, takes him by the hand, like in his mouth.
Mhm.
And I know the feeling. My dog has done it. I'm probably your guys do it too. When they want something real light, real gentle, and they just start guiding. And it's like, hell yeah. As a dog guy, I'm like, that's the one I want. I want the dog to walk me around, It's like, we got you, bud. And so cool story. And they walk him, right through the tunnel. All right.
Apparently, I have a sleeping problem. It's fine. So walk through the tunnel. He makes it out. The wolves are gone by the time he gets out to the end, and he's like, "I'm good." And off he goes, trotting to Cibola.
My life for you.
Bum
to bum.
He gets to Vegas-ish. He's almost Vegas. He camps out in some cars.
Yeah.
Almost makes it. Then makes it to a fountain, which is working. Did anybody else catch that? And the fountain is working. That's the first thing he kind of notices.
Yeah. Well, he saw the lights.
Did he see the lights in Vegas?
He saw the lights from the distance. It was known that they had, that they've already had power up and running. And so, so he gets there and he meets Lloyd. Lloyd's kind of the first one to meet the introduction. Once he passes out and is taken care of,
Lloyd's life has upgraded.
Yeah.
Yes.
He said he was going to make him his right-hand man. That seems to have held up. Right? Like, that seems to be a promise that has been pretty well fulfilled to some extent.
Right? Like, he's the guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the boots on the ground running the show. Not necessarily calling the shots, but sort of keeping the trains running on time. That's Lloyd's job.
So Lloyd kind of gives him a slight, not even a rundown. He gets him fed, gets him soup and everything. Gets him in bed, gets him rested, and then the next morning wakes him up for breakfast. They have a butcher who is very skilled at creating fabulous meals, and Trashy gets to have a nice meal with friends, like with friendly guys.
Like he's actually welcomed into the fold and can be a part of a community for the first time in his life.
Yeah, like they're taking little jabs at each other, but nothing, spiteful. And even when there's a laugh made by a comment Trashy makes, he calls somebody Mr.
Mr. High.
Mr. High. And, they start laughing, but they're laughing at Ace High. They're not laughing at Trashy,
mm-hmm.
Because it's an honest mistake. If you're a decent person, then they get that,
and so it's just,
well, it takes him a minute. At first he was like, but it gets to him or he figures it out. And it's like, that's just a cool scene. I actually really did enjoy that scene because as a guy who's felt like an outcast at times, when you get accepted into your group and when you find your people, it's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, no.
And then he goes to work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so happy, like bundling coils of wire. Like, I am happy and I am doing the work of the Lord. Look at me, happily serving my Lord. And everybody else around him is like, grumble, grumble. Don't grumble too loud. Grumble, quiet, grumble. And he doesn't really notice that, but we're kind of given that peripheral vision of like, and then he learns that not everybody feels the way that he feels.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too, like especially the way Lloyd handled the situation of welcoming him, right? And everyone else too, for sure. But like whenever Lloyd is basically saying like, yeah, no, big guy's got a special job for you. Like he has a special place for you. Like
Hmm.
you
You
are
belong.
you are wanted here for sure. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what it is, but he wants to see you. Like he's not here right now. I don't know when he'll be here, but I know that he has been waiting for you. And so like he feels even more validated even before he feels welcome. He feels like all this effort was way more validated than I think he anticipated, cuz I think he was still a little leery of, could I be being lied to? Is this too good to be true? And he gets there and everything, like we see for Lloyd, seems to be going with the things that were promised so far that we know of. It seems like the promises that have been made have
Mhm.
been upheld, which hey, a good leader follows through. So that's
Well,
effective
here's
leader. Effective
Yep.
leader, not good leader. Good.
I accept your correction. You may
Yeah.
continue.
A great leader, not a good leader. A great leader. Terrible, but great.
But great.
and to that point, because we'll get to the last section, but everything we see up until like the last bit of this chapter, in this section, it's being done right. People are happy, they're content, they're fed, they have power, they have luxury. He picked a town where pretty much anybody could pick any suite in the entire city to live in. You have kind of free reign to do that. You just have to go to work. And so it's like, okay, for a lot of people, it's like that's cool. You gotta kind of follow the rules that are set forth.
Not kinda.
Yeah.
You absolutely, under no circumstances, will break the rules. But that's minor details
It's fine print, but it's there.
in big, bold wooden sticks.
See, now my question is it a one-time break or, because it was Ace High. Okay, so fast forward, Trashy's at work. Everybody's somber today. Like it's been happy, happy, happy. One day he goes in and everybody's kind of somber and kind of what's going on. Then they get called, we're all going back. And he gets told, yep, we're nailing this guy to the cross, nailing this guy to a cross. We're going to, he gets figured out that, is that Ace High that's getting crucified or was the other one?
I thought it was the other guy. I can't remember his name.
Dugan.
Okay.
And he did it because he was on drugs again, right? He relapsed on his drug problem.
Freebasing cocaine. And so my question is it a one-time offense that you're not made aware? Like if Trashy had walked in and started fucking freebasing, is he getting crucified right away? Or is it kind of, hey, we know you do this. You need to knock it the fuck off because this will A, B, and C will happen. We don't know these facts, but it's an interesting.
My guess, and this is we have, like you said, no information, so this is just what my guess is every person here has made a deal with the devil to some extent.
Yeah.
And there are rules probably for individuals that are different. I bet Trashy could go and use cocaine right now. Wouldn't be a big deal. It's more of a you're here and we made deals of what you're going to do and when you're going to do it and what you're not going to do. And some of these people probably have specific things that they said, if you're coming here, you're not doing that until I tell you whatever, and I think that was, in my estimation, was in Dugan's specific deal with Flag. And so he broke that contract and it's just right out. It's a total guess,
Sure.
But I think it's not wholesale laws across the board. I think it's more individual promises that need to be upheld.
Or certain people get certain exemptions.
Yeah.
Sure.
One or the other. Because I
Mhm.
agree with you. I don't think Trashy can do whatever he wants and Flag is not going to stop him. I think Lloyd's pretty similar, but I think that might be it.
As long as it's not affecting the jobs that Flag specifically needs them
Yes.
to do.
Which what Dugan was doing could have been.
Right.
And so speaking of which, Trashy gets a gift from Lloyd. Doesn't really give him any indication. He just says, I can't make you take this. I was told to offer you this. He gets him a nice little black rock kind of thing. And the reason I'm wearing this because I want to shout out T Realm on Imagination Realm over on Facebook. There, I want to tribute thing. She sent me this, and I'm like, that looks exactly minus the little red bit in the middle. That in the story, I'm like, this is exactly what I pictured. Something just like this, sitting right in the chest. It's like, okay, I'm a flag man. And
why am I not surprised?
We got Ramsey Bolton, fan number one. We've got Randall Flagg, fan number one.
I'm not quite a fan of Flagg himself. I'm more of a fan of his effectiveness. He's effective. He gets shit done. His people are in line.
I have thoughts on that in a later chapter as well.
Yeah,
because it gets referenced back to. So
I agree. So, but yeah, so it's one of those of he gets that and Trashy takes it. He accepts it, accepts the gift, and goes through with the crucifixion. And I do like the fact that people are like, everybody stayed around for about 2 hours. Nobody wanted to be noted as the first one to leave. It's like, yeah, you get that.
Yeah, no, I could understand that too. Unless there's like a specific, okay, everyone needs to leave. You don't want to be the first person that walks away from it on something like that. Test the waters a different time, maybe, or else you might find yourself on the next crucifix made out of telephone poles.
You use what you have. They're resourceful.
I'm not saying it was the wrong material choice. I was just commenting that that's where they got the material.
All right. And then our friend Trashy, like they do eventually break, right, and disperse. Mm-hmm. And he gets to meet the man.
Yeah. And Flagg kind of reiterates, I have special work for you. You are, I forget, I'm remembering back to one of the earlier conversations that they have in Dreams, but he's like, you're my weapon. Like, you're my guy, and I have a special place for you here, and I'm glad you made it. I'm sure that I'm forgetting some of the other things that they talked about as well. But
it was very short. It was only like a half page kind of.
But he very much, again, validated even what Lloyd was saying, that it's just, yeah, you are welcome. You are wanted. You are needed on this team. So thank you for making it, kind of thing.
There's not a lot in the conversation. He says, there's work for you in the desert, Trash. Great work if you want it.
Terrible, but great.
Yeah. And Randall says, I'm going to set you to burn. He said, come, let's have something to drink and talk about it. And in the end, that burning was very great.
Yeah. And so end of chapter. And I really enjoyed this chapter. It was good. It gave a good insight into Randall's camp. It gave a good insight into, Trashy's just history. And I'm glad that, the kid part, I didn't know it was an add-on, but that makes sense because it did feel a weird, shift around. But, going back to that story right in the, where it was placed. But I liked it. It made him more of a sympathetic character, even more so than he was.
There is only one picture in this entire section that we read.
Trashy and the Wolves, or is that the kid and the Wolves?
The kid.
It's the kid.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Big fan. Great chapter.
All right.
Enjoyable chapter.
49.
All right. 49. So when Lucy Swan woke up, it was 15 minutes to midnight. The judge has joined Larry's party. He talks to Lucy and Larry, a man struggling to be good. Lucy is sleeping with Larry, but knows he is drawn to Nadine. Nadine is weird and dark and denies she has been having dreams. Switching to Nadine's POV, we get her backstory and a sense of her entanglement with Flagg. She's drawn to Larry, but not enough to break with the Dark Man. She is torn. First short chapter in a while, only 7,000 words.
So. I have very little memory of this chapter other than Lucy almost whining, but not quite whining, but trying not to whine, but also get your head out of your ass, man. Am I missing something on the Lucy stuff?
No, the Lucy, the thing stands out to me is she's kind of I know he wants her, but she doesn't want him, and I'm okay with that. Kind of that half whine, if you want it, I'll back off, kind of thing. But apparently it's not. So, but it's, just a meh of a Nothing. Yeah, nothing memorable.
Yeah, it's basically Larry. It to me, there was the Larry in New York. There was the Larry with Rita.
Hmm.
Then I think Larry went into a cocoon during his alone time before he met Nadine. And I don't actually think he's come out yet. I
Yeah.
think he's still forming in there. And I think we're watching him form and watching him grow into this metamorphosis of grown ass adult, but he's not there yet, but it's working on it. And it's a hard adjustment. And I think this is just a stair step in that. And it's an interesting character development. It's just a character development and not anything happening.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just to show that there are things changing within him. Like he's trying, right? We're seeing his effort to be better, and he knows that he's still messing up a little bit, and she makes him more aware of that. And I think that's maybe what we get from this more than anything. It's her showing him that you're still not there. I know that you're working on it, and I know you have things going on, but you're still not there, and he's aware of it. And I think that's what I think this is useful for, is he's aware, his awareness of the faults that he still has and is trying to correct. And she calls him out. And I thought that was healthy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, the only like it doesn't even stand out to me because I can't remember most of what it was said, but like is an character introduction of the judge, who is a good, that good wise man, not the mystical wise man, but just the good old man to verify or to not verify. What's the word I'm looking for? But to give the blessing to Larry as you're doing right or you're on the right path, kind of thing. And that's a good position for Larry to.
It's dangerous to go alone.
Yes.
Take this.
Yes. Nice reference.
What is it, Samwise Gamgee? Gandalf's handing it to Frodo?
Oh, that was the meme you sent the other day.
I know. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah. I ain't been dropping no eaves, sir.
So then we get to Nadine and get her backstory ish. I felt we had gotten this already. Like
nope,
I felt
this is
that
brand new info to me.
like because I remember, and this is not because I remembered it, but I remember like in the first chapter, her saying she had saved herself, and everything and all of that, and had indicated she was saving herself for the Dark Man. It didn't go all the way into it, but like she was saving herself because of a purpose, and it was implied because of.
Maybe you and I thought that because we knew what was coming.
This is super fresh.
Maybe.
I did not pick up on that before. It may have been alluded to if you knew it, kind of thing. This was fresh for me, for sure.
Okay, fair.
There were definitely weird things about her, like questioning why are you being the way that you're doing, and why are you saving yourself, and like all these things, and like why are you kind of almost teasing Larry, like you're kind of giving him false hope when like it just. We kind of know it's not going to be going that way.
Never gonna happen.
Right.
Like, let it go.
And it makes it harder on him, which, I mean, whatever. He's got his own struggles going on, and this isn't helping. But, yeah, no, this was very new information for me that she was kind of betrothed to Flag in her head, is how I take it. And this has a very, there was a term that she used, dark enchantment, which reminds me of some classic fairy tale type things where the princess gets darkly enchanted by, turns out to be like a goblin or some other kind of monstrous creature that tricks her into coming down to the lair or whatever. And that's very much what this feels like. And I thought this was a really cool inclusion. And again, I had no indication that this was going this way other than she was being weird. So
like, and I think it's interesting. She's never dreamt of Mother Abigail. That was like something that stood out, but she's only dreamt of the Dark Man. I'm glad you enjoyed it because like I know Nadine, so like it's not a surprise to me. So I didn't realize it because earlier
it was a good reveal for me. I'll put it that
way.
Good.
Okay.
And, do you know whereabouts they are when we're with them in this chapter? Because it doesn't seem like they're in Nebraska. Because I'm saying that because I wonder if there was a similar thing, but they were there later. Like comparing it to Trashy's chapter, where she had already left Nebraska, and we
Mm.
think that there was an overlap of when Trashy was there in Nebraska when she was still there.
I
She
feel
was
this was, yeah,
Trashy was there when Mother Abigail
Right.
was still
And
there.
that's what I think. That now she's gone from Nebraska, and so we don't
Yes.
have that chapter where they could have been in the same territory at the same time right then to see if she would
Who's
get
they?
Nadine and Abigail.
No, because
to see if it- yeah.
so Trash goes through Nebraska.
Mhm.
Then Mother Abigail and
And
Nick
Nick.
go through Nebraska.
Mhm.
And obviously there's like other groups too, but then
Right,
it's
right, right.
then it's Harold and Stu's group goes through Nebraska,
Mhm.
and Larry's like way at the end of all of that.
Sure.
So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious because she only gets flag dreams, denies them all that she even has dreams to
Mhm.
protect herself, I'm guessing. But that's where I was wondering, like, we don't get that conversation from we're not with her when she's in closer proximity to Abigail to see if it reverts like it did for Trashy. That's the main thing I was trying to get
yeah.
at.
no,
No, that makes sense. I think at this point they were just past Indiana, because this is where it was mentioned the fires in around Gary
That's right.
was in this chapter that they had mentioned, and actually it was mentioned. I believe Ralph had mentioned it before when they meet Mother Abigail as well in the last section. So those were the two other mentions that we were thinking about. But I think this one, so I think they were in like around Illinois, because I think the judge was he was from town in Illinois, a judge out of Peoria. He was a judge out of Peoria, Illinois. So I think this is
they
Illinois,
could have been
Iowa.
in Missouri
Could have been the Quad Cities.
or Iowa or the Quad Cities.
That could have been
Yeah.
Nauvoo, but yeah. So
Not a good bridge there.
well, okay.
It's okay.
You better have gone through Naya.
You gotta take the
Nyota,
toll going the other way from Fort Madison to Nyota. That's the you can go east to west. It's going the other way. You gotta pay $1. So
Not if everybody's dead.
very specific reference there.
Oh, okay. Anything else about chapter 49? Meh.
No,
Yeah.
no.
50.
Yep. All
Moving
right.
on.
50. Dawn was coming up, painting the eastern sky a delicate rose color. Stu Redman and Glenn Bateman were about halfway through up Flagstaff Mountain in West Boulder. They discuss human nature, society, big thoughts, the coming showdown. Mother Abigail is surveying her flock, feeling pretty pleased with herself. Larry and Lucy arrive to pay their respects. Joe reveals his name as Leo to Mother. Nick Andros takes stock. Larry visits Franny, tells her about following Harold's signs. He sees Harold very differently to her. He makes Franny feel guilty. Harold sits in the dark, stewing and writing in his journal. This was one that it just felt like, I feel like it'd be easier to talk about this chapter if these were all individual chapters. Like, it was 19,000 words, and it could have been 6 chapters.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Come on.
Okay, so let's do mountaintop morning drinking.
Yeah.
So this is where the ad hoc committee is first discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the brunt of this conversation.
Birth of politics.
Yeah, the birth of politics. Yeah.
I
That's
like
what I was going to
that.
name this section.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I was going to name this section the governmental entity of the stand. This is, because we see both kind of sides. At least one's formed and one's forming. That's
Mhm.
how the government works now.
Yeah, and this is really like the reestablishment period. Like, that's where we're at, right? You got to try to get on that early. And we've seen, like Benji kind of alluded to, flag side is very well established under a dictator. And this is, okay, well, what do we choose? What are we going to... This is the liberal arts approach to starting a government. And
Sorry.
is that pretty accurate, though?
It's 100% accurate, but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I really enjoyed Glenn
As
and
opposed to the
Stu's-
engineer's version.
Which one's working? Which one's up and running?
I'm gonna go with which one lasts. That's what I'm banking on. That's what I'm gonna put my money on.
We'll see.
Okay, great.
I'm not gonna put a bet on either thing. I really
Nothing.
enjoyed the Stu Redman and Glenn Bateman conversation because Glenn is our sociologist, right? Like, hey, starting a civilization again. best person to have
That's the-
around is a sociologist. I mean, that's a pretty useful person. Be like, hey, you understand this stuff.
Yeah, that's
Like,
pretty convenient. We
that's
have one of
pretty
those.
convenient. It's like when we usually have a writer. We have to like defeat the archdemon by writing him a poem. Like, come on. I feel like that's happened in 5 of these books at times. Somehow the writer's the hero.
But this time, I mean, to be fair, how many other books the hero is a sociologist?
not enough.
So okay, so I do have I have an issue with this section, with this, and it's Glenn. I like Glenn as a person. I like Glenn as a character.
As we
I
do.
don't like what Glenn's doing. It pisses me off because he's already playing the game, playing the political game. So we have to have this ad hoc committee, who we want to pick, and then we want people, to be permanently put on here. So he's already playing the game. Instead of saying we're going to get everybody together and we're going to talk, he's going to tell people how to think because he knows how people think and he knows how to spin them. And it's just it's very annoying. Like, to me, if I'm in the liberal arts, camp, I'm going to be like, no, let's sit everybody down and hear their thoughts out. Now, yeah, you run the risk of having Harold speak up and get a following or whatever. We'll get to Harold. But Glenn is playing the politician, not even the politician. He's playing the Dick Cheney. He's playing the behind the scenes, Donald Rumsfeld guy, controlling the puppets instead of just letting shit happen and work. And it really fucking bothered me, like, reading this, because he even called it out in his first chapter. He's like, this is what will happen. And he's just making it happen.
It is becoming a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy to some extent for, he knows what's going to happen and he's kind of driving that to go. And I think he's weighing against the other options, to be a devil's advocate a little bit. He knows what other options there are better than anybody. And so he's doing some effort of trying to streamline to in his mind, reasonable solution. I get it. He is playing the game. And it bothers me too, because it is, okay, well, you're just basically setting up the chessboard in a way that you can win. Like, you're starting the game in a way that you're going to win. Go for it, Melissa.
Not Glenn's fault. Stu made him. Glenn did not volunteer this information. Glenn is not saying, hey, everybody, look at me. I have all the answers. Glenn drug his ass out to a mountain and got his ass drunk.
Yep.
And then made him start talking. This is not Glenn's fault. This is Stu using his resources wisely. End rant.
Fair.
It's a fair point. Absolutely.
Fair point.
Like, Glenn is not at fault here. Glenn is just being Glenn,
and
doing Glenn things.
He's just like rambling because he's drunk. He's just like rambling and like, these are just the thoughts that are coming up. And Stu's just like,
Stu is out there like, okay, lecture time.
He's like, all right, here's a quarter. Put it in the machine. Go. Okay.
Well, what's the
quarter?
The machine from Big. I was thinking Madam Talia.
Yeah,
or Madam Talia. Yeah.
It's not. It's the. Oh, damn it! AK is gonna be. AK is gonna rip us apart. It's
AK
one of
help
them
me out.
at the store, Randall's store by my work.
Oh, nice. But anyway, it's but yeah, so that was my one thing with it, because like, self-fulfilling prophecy, like I said, and I get it. He's trying to avoid a theocracy. He's trying to avoid basically Mother Abigail being completely holified and being, the one in charge, and trying to set up some sort of republic kind of thing. But it's just the way he goes about it, of setting his chess pieces where he wants them.
Zoltar. Just
Zoltar.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a problem with his chess pieces, and maybe like it's how I would want it. But you can't put everybody in a room when everybody is so idolizing this woman. That would not be a good way to build your society around. I think he's right.
And I think he's correct to, once they have this ad hoc committee idea and, all that set up, basically creating the bureaucracy behind the election, right? Because you have to start somewhere. And he basically says we have to be careful that this doesn't become a theocracy. And I think that was a fair point too, because that completely changes it, much more similar to what Flagside is. And then there's only one voice that matters, and he's just trying to be careful that they're setting the table up in a way that's going to be safe for everyone to have a chance, I think is how I feel about
Agreed.
it overall.
Right.
And I do
All right.
agree. And my rant was more of the, just the chess piece side of it, apart from he's doing the right thing, just felt a little meh. But again, the good point of Stu is the one asking. So
Yeah.
just,
All right, so let's move on to Mother
Mother
Abigail.
Abigail meeting Larry and Nadine and Leo.
Yeah. So first we get Mother Abigail with the fancy products in her house that don't work, the trash compactor or trash smasher kind of thing. She's like, that's the first thing I'm turning. Once we get the power, that's the first thing I'm using. I just think that's hilarious. And I agree. I'm kind of what I would do because I've never had one. It'd be like, yeah, I want to see what it can crush.
I feel like there's a YouTube channel easily in that. I mean, there's a lot of like will it blend or like other like
or
using
the hydraulic press,
presses, yeah. But
yeah.
using a trash
But just-
compactor, I think that'd be a fun one.
So, anything on the self-thought of Mother Abigail besides the trash compactor?
I mean, I thought she's very aware that they're going to ask her to be involved, and she's like, I don't want to be involved. They're going to ask me, and I probably should, but that is not what she believes her plan in God's light is. Like, she knows that they're going to ask her to be a part of this moving forward civilization plan, and she wants to push herself kind of away from that responsibility.
And that's fair. And that's
I'm ready for Larry.
Yeah.
And so right before Larry comes in, it's Stu, I guess, that comes in and talks to her. No, who's Ralph. Yeah, I was like, that's not the right, but he's the handy guy, the handyman, handyman Ralph, and he's talking to her, and I think their relationship is really neat. Like they just both respect each other through and through.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? I see you. You're a one. And he's like, you know what? I think you're a one too. I just thought that was a cute little moment between those two because he kind of feels like her justiciar, her magister, like that's there to like kind of just help her get through whatever she's got going on, needs a hand with.
The guy who moves everybody through for her.
Yeah. He's the person that announces him at the door. He's the one that goes and gets shit done for her. I just think their relationship is really neat.
And I think it's helpful because apart from Stu, he's really the only, well, I guess you could say Tom, but of that we know is the only country boy, in this group so far. Like the rest of them of the ones we know, they're all the Ivy League-ish, mental people. Ralph is more that down-to-earth country boy, work with your hands, get shit done, like he fixed the CB radio and it was like, yeah, because that's what you do, kind of thing. And so I think that's why they're drawn together because that's Mother Abigail, just get shit done. And so that I think that plays into a lot of it too.
I agree with that. And in comes Larry. Take it away, Melissa.
So I really like how Larry comes in and he's kind of the head and she notices that and she's doing her like, look at me, I'm greeting my people and so you've got Mother Abigail who's, she's recognizing it, but she's on her own, like high and mighty, like this is my calling and this is what I'm doing. And there's Larry and then, and then Nadine. And there's something. And Mother Abigail has enough wherewithal to know that there's something. And Nadine is like, there's something. But Mother Abigail has a choice in that moment. I like the choice of the difference between, do I greet my people and play the role of the prophet, or do I delve into this? And she chooses to stick with the people, of playing the role of the leader, if you will, and loses that. And so I like that there is that moment for her, which I think we find later maybe was not her right choice for her truth. That comes a little later. I love what happened with Joe. Good old Joe. And how he just runs to her and is like, and of course Nadine, who's in this whole, power struggle of what's going on. And she's like, come back, Joe. My name's not Joe. My name's Leo
Crawford.
No, it's Leo Rockway.
Rockway.
Leo Rockway.
But she,
Mhm.
Nadine, being she, definitely lost Leo there a bit. Not like 100%, because we know that Leo still likes being with her, but that was
Right.
a very much, I guess it's more of a proof of concept of what Abigail was feeling in that moment. Like, I think it was more of a showing that the struggle of whatever's going on is a real thing because of the way Leo reacted. I thought that was interesting. Kind of a, innocence from the child will be kind of foreseen here. And I think that's kind of what is intended by the author to be shown.
Anything else with good old Nadine and Joe, Leo?
I thought Larry I thought their introductions were good. Like, just in general, like, I don't know if they had scripted or whatever, but they all kind of ended with "I dreamed of you," like,
Yeah.
and now I'm here. I thought it was just either a well-designed presentation or whatever, but like, it just felt like, yeah, like, we made it, and she gave it back to them. Like, I'm glad you made it, kind of thing. And it was it was just a nice moment, because the same thing we saw with Trashy. He gets there, and they're welcomed, and it's like you're solidified and you're validated. I've used that word many times, I know, but it's the same exact feeling that Larry has, that Trashy had. Again, those two seem to be meeting up on a couple different emotional things in this section, at least. But I think valuable.
And I think Mother Abigail, if I'm not mistaken, gave him some like encouragement or some praise on getting everybody to her. Like, she's like, I could be wrong, but I got the feeling that she was saying you did well, like you did good getting here, kind of thing, and you did right. I could be just reading into it, but I feel there was something in that conversation along those lines.
Whether it was said or implied, I agree. He felt like it was recognized, the effort that he put in.
Yeah. And I like the Nadine factor, because it makes me think, after this discussion, what would Trashy's accept, like, feeling had he made that left turn and gone to Hardhome, and not Hardhome,
Hardhome, Hemingford Home,
Hemingford Home. Yeah, Hardhome's, that's a whole different left turn.
Watch out for Karsten.
Yeah, but to Hemingford Home, and would she have had that same reaction as to Nadine? Because Nadine, as we learned in the previous chapter, this has been from birth that she's been tagged by Flag, kind of thing, or something like that. So I just wonder, it would be interesting to see the dynamics in that instance. I mean, we get her input on Lloyd, or on Randall, not Randall, god damn it, Harold, on Harold, in her thought processes too. She's like, that Harold, he's just always smiling, there's his smile doesn't mean it. And so we get her insights. Now, she hasn't completely shunned him, but she's like, I don't trust him. But with Nadine, it's a hard, she's not quite shunning, but it's a hard line, like, nope, so I think probably Trash would probably think about, just speaking out, he probably would end up getting the Randall or the Harold treatment of she wouldn't trust him, but she would accept until proven different.
Proven otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we switch to Nick, and he's writing and thinking and wishing he had time to read.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I don't remember the Nick part at all.
He's just sort of thinking through and saying, like, I'm thinking about the ad hoc committee, and Stu and Glenn have a lot of their people, and I have vetoed Harold, and so I hope they're good with that, because that's not going to happen. And almost not that he is very prideful, but the idea of, like, I was here first, and like, I'm going to keep being in charge too. Not that you can't, but so it was really that authority and organization thought. It was the first part. And then Ralph comes in and he says, hey, Larry Underwood seems like a real smart guy. They're running those posters talking about the ad hoc committee. So all of that kind of stuff with Ralph and Nick, right? Authority, organization, and politics. And then he also talks a little bit about Harold and how his smile's really fucking creepy.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, just with this conversation, is make me think Trashy is a good mirror or alternate to
Larry.
too many names. Larry, thank you. Nick is a good alternate to Randall. Or not to Randall, to Lloyd. To Lloyd, where
Yes.
he's second. He's number 2 in command, like to Mother Abigail, and it's that good mirror kind of thing. And like you said, he's not being prideful, but he's like, I was here first. I was the one that she kind of, made it here first and have been giving my input and everything and all that. And so it's like, so for him to, cut Harold out because of his smile, I mean, I get it. You meet the creepy guy and you're just like, nope, not going to happen. But again, and at least in the sense of, because everybody's like, Harold's doing everything right. He's a nice guy. He's joking, he's trying, but there's just something about him. And it's that intuition. I think it's a lot of these folks have the shine and so it's that natural intuition they have that it's amplifying. They're seeing through Harold's shit, Harold's facade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good call to calling them out as foils, him and Lloyd. I think that's completely fair. And obviously they're not. He's not. Was it Gary? Is the one that we were just talking about? Ralph? Sorry, Ralph.
Ralph.
Right there at her side, right? He's right at Abigail's side. That's not where Nick needs to be. Nick needs to be out there being her brain in the field, where it's almost the reverse for Flag's side, where Flag's the one out doing stuff, it seems like, and Lloyd's there like the welcoming party.
And running the shit.
Right, and it's like that's the dichotomy between these foils, but I think it still very much fits. And I think it's a good thing to point out there, Benj. Good catch. I didn't think about that one.
All right. I'm going to jump to Larry going to see Franny. Larry and Franny.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for these two to meet for a long time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Sitting there giggling away on the
I would say, had not been for Stu, I would have shipped these two. Here in the first chapters of each, I would have put these two together.
I would have.
Well,
guessed
they're closer in age.
Right.
Yeah.
And maturity level, to be completely fair.
Right.
I mean, I thought that early on, I really expected those two to meet up earlier, like back over east somewhere and be traveling along. And whether it went well or not, I thought that would be a piece of relationship opportunity that like right after Rita, I was like, man, they could cross in the next chapter that we see them like really easily. I think it would have fit, but I'm happy with where it's at. So.
Oh, good. So you're shipping Franny and Stu?
They didn't ask me, but that's where we're at. So I don't get to choose.
The other option was Franny and Harold. So we're going to go with Franny and Stu. Okay.
Why are you shipping everything?
Franny and the Judge.
Benny and the Jets.
I was going to say Franny and the Jets. I was about to.
I had you by like 10 seconds. Good job, me.
You got me.
Yeah. I like that Larry's version of Harold is the Harold that really does exist. Like Larry's Harold is Harold.
Mm-hmm.
But Harold doesn't recognize that in himself. And therefore, the people who spend a lot of time with Harold only see what he puts out personality-wise, not his capabilities.
Yeah. And
I think that's the difference. And Franny is like, oh my God, he really is that cool. Yeah. But you haven't been around him.
Larry's only seeing the outcome of his ability.
Mm-hmm.
Franny's seeing the living with him issue.
It's literally like
he's not
following somebody on Instagram or living with that person.
Yes, but she's not registering what he's doing at the time. That's the big key takeaway too, that on her end is Larry doesn't get the personality, but Franny doesn't recognize or give recognition to the accomplishments. She was just like, oh, Harold just did that.
I mean, at first she did, right? With painting on the
But
Yeah,
she recognized it, but didn't really appreciate it at the time, I think, until right now, basically.
Right.
But
right.
I think for her, it's more of a not seeing the forest for the trees kind of thing. Like she's too close. She's too close to the immensity that is the annoying Harold. And so she's too close to be able to realize the productive things that he is doing until it's put in a different perspective for her.
The problem is is Harold.
Right, absolutely. And then Stu is the other part that she's distracted by Stu so much, along with being too close to Harold, that there's just no chance that she would have fully appreciated him until somebody else showed that respect that really Harold did deserve. I mean, the things that he did worked out. Pretty lucky, to be completely fair too, but it worked out, and he was a very successful Oregon Trail companion. I mean, you definitely want him on your team for at least a portion of that.
I mean, unless somebody has appendicitis, in which case I'm gonna die, but hope that Stu's around to at least do something. But I mean, really, yeah, barring a major disaster, Harold kept the ship running.
He was capable and useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to Franny, who maybe wasn't. I'm gonna
better than Rita.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better because I was about to go down a rabbit hole.
I didn't think you really wanted to. I could tell on your face you didn't want to.
Here's just my random thought, and I don't actually want your comments. Harold is a value add, but he has some negative, minus points. Stu is a value add. Larry is a value add. I'm not sure. I like her. I'm not sure what Franny's value add is. I'm not sure what Nadine's value add is. I'm not sure there's a female with value add, which says more about the writer and the character he chooses to emphasize. Maybe Susan Stern. She's got some value add. I'm a fan of her.
Is that the one we talk about later in the council meeting?
Yeah,
Yes,
and she's
on
from
council.
the harem, the zoo.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only one I can think of outside of Abigail.
And obviously, Mother Abigail has value add, but that's not the fault of the women. That's the fault of the person who wrote them.
Yes.
So
yep.
I always feel that way about Franny. I like her. I just wish she mattered instead of just being a chick in the story.
Unfortunately, at this point, she's more of a plot device than a character.
Am I misremembering this, or did you feel similarly about Bev?
Yep.
Okay.
Except Bev could shoot.
Yeah, that's her one value add. Yeah.
But she had a value add.
But there were many times where I think you were frustrated that there wasn't a whole lot until it was needed. Like at that one point.
Sorry, and here's the thing I'm wondering. These are the only two books that we have taken slowly. So I'm wondering, but they were also both written early on in his career.
5 years apart?
Roughly. The first time around for The Stand, yes.
Right.
So I'm wondering, is it a me thing that I'm only noticing because we're going so slow? Or is it a him thing for being a young douchebag who hasn't quite grown up yet?
Mm-hmm.
I love
Mrs. Torrance really had no value add.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? I'm like trying to hit
the mother in Cujo very much had no value add.
Mother in Pet Cemetery, very little value add.
Carrie, 1,000% value add. That's all she had was value add. That's all she
Carrie
had.
was value.
I'm sorry, I went down a whole rabbit hole here. I'm just
no, that's fine.
Okay. It's okay.
We like that.
So we'll get back on track here. It was a valuable
to my point, though,
conversation.
Melissa, because I agree with you on the female side of it. Absolutely. I will go back to a point that I made early on in this series of Stu, as you said, has no negative ad. He's all value add. At least Larry has a negative ad of being, his downfall, his drug use, and now he's trying to come back up. Stu's always been up here. He's always been at a 9.
There's no arc.
And there's no
no dip. Superman.
Yes, he's Superman. He's Thor. He's just
No,
he-
Thor has
we did.
negatives. Superman
We're-
does not have any negatives. He's Superman.
kryptonite. But
No,
anyway,
That's a
but
weakness.
that's an
not a negative.
external. Yeah.
anyway, but I'm just saying it's like, yes, he's Superman in that level of, where there's no dips and everything. And that's why I'm just like, give me a dip. Give me just don't be the perfect guy every fucking time. And every interaction we have with him and Franny and him and Harold, and he's always the perfect fucking guy. And it's just annoying.
I'm okay.
It's a lot of book left.
I-
It's a lot
yeah.
of book left.
There's 2 sections of book left. Okay, which means we're going to move on. We're going to move to the last part of chapter 50 because we still have 2 chapters to go, boys, and I'm getting tired. So I'm going to go with
Yes.
Harold does some writing.
So basically, this boils down to we knew about it was inferred about the ledger.
No, he had said, and that night Harold started his ledger.
Mhm.
Well,
We didn't
Harold
get
started
any
writing.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we didn't get any details, but we knew he started his own
Yes.
jam, if you will.
Yeah, and basically, we get we don't get the full we get the full description of the tight, compact. What's the word I'm looking for? When any type of bomber or some shit, manifesto. We get the Herald manifesto.
Yes.
That's
Ugh.
It's all his hatred put in, no paragraphs, just block writing, page after page after page, and just hearing that description. That's all you have to tell me. It's like, this guy's nuts. It's
And it may have been the last chapter of this section where we kind of get back to that, but it's almost like it is a therapeutic thing for him because it's like he gets all worked up, and this is his release. Like he lets it all into this book. And there are, I think, multiple times even here where it was just like, and then he could go back to portraying the politician, the smile guy, and
I have to practice. I'm getting good smiling.
and I'm getting really good at it. Yeah, pretty messed up. But like, at least he's trying to use it as like a therapy. It's a really bad thing, but at least he's able to get back to some level of not just homicidal at all points. That's my takeaway. That's my plus minus on this. It's a pressure.
I hate Harold.
Should.
Yeah, you're supposed to. I mean, and I
Fair.
do too. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Harold.
my whole
Kind of a wank. Let's move on. Chapter 51.
you can read this one, Melissa.
Awesome. Ralph's posters announcing the August 18th meeting went up all over Boulder. Larry meets Harold. Harold is not what he was expecting. Larry and Stu meet and discuss Harold and the committee. Franny checks her diary, finds a chocolate thumbprint. Horrified, not just that Harold has read it, but what she has written about him. The ad hoc committee meets for the first time. Lots of post-apocalypse administrativia, that's not a word, to deal with before moving on to the Dark Man. Some of the chapter is reported as the minutes of the meeting. So let's go with, there are posters. Larry meets his hero.
His
Yeah.
guiding,
You
his
ever
guiding
know
light.
That you're my hero. But Leo doesn't want to.
Once,
is
once
really-
he meets him, he pulls back like instantly.
Yes.
He
So
nopes
very
right out of
similar
there.
to very similar to the
Heavy nope.
Nadine, Mother Abigail. He was just
Mhm.
he just didn't have the common courtesy kind of sense that Abigail did to continue on. He just noped the fuck out. He was like,
Yep. Nope. I think if we're going to talk about the shine, this is a really good time to mention how Leo is shine heavy.
He's shining
Yes.
like crazy right now, like a crazy diamond.
I mean, he's no Danny Torrance.
No, not many are. Very
No.
few are.
he's no
Alvarez.
what's I was thinking the kid from the Institute. Charlie
I know-
or
I know who you're talking
Oh.
about.
yeah.
Hold on. I'll find it.
He's no him, but he's got some skill to him. I honestly think with this revelation, seeing this new character of it, I think it was his shine was broken in the sense of, when-
Avery.
Avery, thank you. Avery Dixon. But I honestly think his shine snapped when he was left alone, and like everything, and it didn't come, like everything came back once he met Abigail. He was reverted back to primitive style as Joe, until Abigail kind of locked it all back in without either one of them knowing it. And that's when, he's kind of back to
Mhm.
normal,
So we meet Larry and Harold, and they hang out, and Larry's like, "Oh, great, haha, yeah, come back anytime." Sure. Not probably gonna happen.
Yeah, never, don't meet your heroes, folks. It's but that's the thing. It was a good like conversation with the two, but it was just something off. And Larry actually does find the ledger at a point, just accidentally. I was caught, like I'd be listening and I would blank out for a minute, and then he's looking at the ledger. I have to put that back so he doesn't. Was he actually looking around, or was it just an accident that it it knocked
brick,
over? Or...
the brick was like loose in the wall, and so he was just trying to like push it back in, and then it fell out, and then he saw it in the loose brick in the cavity in the wall. And he's like, "Oh,
gotcha.
Okay, now I feel weird, like I was snooping, and I was really not intending to." So then he puts it back, and that's pretty much what happened. He didn't read it; he just saw it and was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And he was like, maybe that was here before. He doesn't necessarily think immediately that that's Harold's, but maybe it is. I just feel weird for snooping by accident. Subliminal snoop.
And I just want to say this: everybody in this whole section, whenever they're mentioning Harold, they say his smile doesn't reach his eyes. I've been like trying to like practice that. Of how do you like? I just don't get it. Like because
a lot of times it's like the cheesy, like you're smiling for a photo, like that. It's
oh no, there's a smile.
Yeah,
and
I guess
it's like I'm smiling, but my eyes are like, "Fuck you!" Like they're yeah. It's like a professional work smile.
It's tough for us Irish kids to do, though.
It takes years of practice.
Yeah,
that's why you go to the mirror.
Yes, but we go to the mirror to not. You're getting really good at it. So interesting little section, but nothing really happened apart from Larry getting his first impressions of Harold, which we find out about in the next part.
Because Stu goes and Stu and Franny talk about laundry,
as you do,
and then he goes and talks to Larry as like, I need somebody because the doctor has bowed out, and by doctor I mean vet, who's taking care of all the humans because he has too much. He's too busy taking care of the humans as a vet that he can't be on this committee. So I'm gonna go check this Larry guy out.
And he's sick too. The doctor himself is like sick too. Like there was something wrong with him. Not important, but it's like he's got enough going on. He knows that he should not be trying to do more right now.
Right.
Until like an actual doctor shows up.
Right. Yeah. So he goes. They talk about Harold. Larry's kind of like,
it was weird.
Stu's like,
it was kind of weird.
Okay, you passed the test. Like, would you like to be in our group? And so he does. And then they meet with beer.
They meet. Yep. And we get to the ad hoc committee.
I mean, before that, while he's gone, Franny does notice that Franny notices Harold read the book. She has angst, both because, oh no, he read it, and because, oh no, I'm such a terrible person that I wrote things about Harold. Whatever. Ad hoc committee.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So, ad hoc committee. We basically get a rundown of how the meeting, the citywide meeting is going to go. And then their idea of making themselves permanent member, or not permanent members, but first elected members. And then an idea is brought up of sending spies over to Randall Flagg's camp.
This is the best part of this section.
And I fucking hate it.
Right before we get to that. So the very first two things that they talk about in the meeting are what they're going to do with Mother Abigail and her relationship to this moving forward.
To the board.
Basically, they just they kind of have that, are we going to be careful about this becoming a theocracy discussion? And
Right.
I think that was very important for them to be like, we want her to be involved, but we just got to make sure that we don't become her puppets kind of thing. And we need to have her involved in all the conversations that she needs to be. We also need to be involved in all of the things that conversations she had with God to some extent that's usable for us. So like they're trying to get to that point quickly. They all kind of agree on whatever they agree with. It not really important, but I just thought it was important that was those were the first two items that they discuss on there.
Mhm.
And then we get
Yeah.
to item number 3, which is the spies to Flag's camp.
Yes. And yeah, to your point, I like the way they went about it because they do want her involved. However, they know that she gets ultimate power, quote unquote, like veto power for stuff. But at the same time, they know she'll go along with most of the stuff they bring up for citywide. And that's what we got in her thought process in the previous chapter was, I don't want to deal with any of this. I just want to be able to help guide.
Really, they're creating checks
yeah.
and balances is what
Exactly. Which is perfectly fine. The spy idea.
And making sure that the religious zealotism, if you will, doesn't take over the foundational day-to-day running that we need to get the town back up, right?
Mhm.
Because at one
Yes.
point they gave the example of the kid driving the car around and nobody thought they had the authority to stop him. Like there has to be some sort of organization, and organizing it around Mother Abigail that's not her purpose.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So,
she's more the guiding light apart from the
Mhm.
day to day.
Yeah.
So the spy thing, it's a great part of the chapter. I love every suggestion that was made. I just hate that it was actually made a suggestion. Why? You need to focus on your shit. Like little Benji rant here, but you need to focus on your shit. Yes, you know, quote unquote, they're crucifying people, and there's a dark man who's mean and creepy because he's dressed in black and everything like that. He hasn't done shit to you. He has made no attempt or anything, but you're taking the first step towards him. And it's like, why? You don't need to do that right now. I'm not saying not down the line. I'm not saying eventually, but right now, that's number 30 on the list, not number 3.
Until it gets bumped up by an action from others.
A provocation.
External.
Like,
yeah, a provocation.
if there's a provocation, fine. But at this point, it does really bother me because I knew it was coming. I've read this before. I knew it was coming. I didn't realize it was this early in it. I thought it was after other situations.
We're more than halfway through, so you know.
No, I thought
I
it
know.
was
I know.
a little later. So reading now, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't need to be at the pre-city meeting ad hoc council. It just didn't, and it just really bothered me. Their choices are fine, and the reasoning behind it is fine, or reasoning behind who they picked, but the choice to do it at this time really does bug me.
Luke.
I feel like Melissa's throwing me a grenade because she's gonna swat me down or something. No. I kind of
I
agree
promise
with you.
nothing.
I kind of agree with you in the fact that you haven't been provoked. You don't even have confirmation that he's a real thing. You're just everyone's under the assumption. We talked about this a couple of chapters ago with I think when they were up in the mountain, like around that time period with Stu and Glenn, where
Mhm.
they kind of reference. I don't know if they
That
were
was
talking,
only a chapter ago, by the way.
it feels like 100 years ago. But it might have just like an inner monologue that one of them was saying, like we're just under the assumption that if A is, 1, that 2 is B, that basically we all had dreams about Abigail and she's real. So we all also had dreams about Flag. Therefore, in fact, he must be real. So it's a logical jump. It's fair with the information at hand, but they don't have actual confirmation. And now you're going to send spies? Like, I guess you could go and see, but they don't even know where he's supposed to be at. Like, they just know he's west, other side of the mountains. Like, it's a bit nebulous at this point without further information, in my opinion. It seems a little premature.
I'm going to go with a couple of things. One, this is why the internet is amazing. That would have solved all of this trouble.
Oh, Twitter be easy. Just
Sweet.
I mean, check
Yeah.
his Facebook story.
That's my snarky comment. I see your point. I don't actually question it. Like, it's a plot point, so I'm good. But the reason I'm for it, you're like, why are you doing anything? Wait till something happens. And I've always been told that the best defense is a good offense, and good offense is derived from good information, and they don't have enough. Therefore, they're sending scouts. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't think about it like you guys said, but for me, you need information. I can't Google it because they don't know what that means. They still think it's a number with lots of zeros. They can't just, pick up a phone and call anybody. There's no news to broadcast, hey, come to Vegas, right? We got the lights on. There's no commercials happening. And they don't want to be caught off guard. They don't want to be reactive once something happens to them. They want to be prepared. This is their best option.
So I think I kind of got there in my rambling of because there's no confirmation that there's real. I guess you take a reconnaissance. I think spy is not the best word for it. I think reconnaissance scouting is a better spin on it, if you want to put it that way. It's similar, but they are looking to infiltrate and
semantics.
Get in.
It's semantics, but again, had they used the word, we need to send scouts, that would have registered a bit differently in my head. But I just, again, my thing was, it's, you have other shit to worry about getting your lives set.
But they said that. They said, because when Susan was like, I'm in, they were like, hold on. We do have other things to do. So we want to make sure this thing is happening, but we can't have this thing happen to the detriment of all those things. They did say that.
True. And again, I disagree.
I
with
can
that part,
multitask. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get it all go.
But
Either
I
way,
disagree with
whether or not we agree with the
No,
plot.
I would say I disagree with the Susan part too, because if she wants to go, let her go. She has full information instead of, fine, the other three will have full information. But you know what? You can find somebody else to fill her spot. But no, you want your people on the board, going back to the whole our people, designing it. It's one of those, let her go. If she wants to take that risk, let her go. And it's just little minor things, but it builds. I still enjoy this. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying this bit, but
nobody is arguing with you, Ben.
There were nits to pick, and he's getting them all.
Yep.
I'm getting
I'm okay with it. I'm here for it.
All right. So, but so the picks, the people that were picked, the judge, I forget his judge something.
Judge from Peoria.
Judge from Peoria. Then you had Sue's pick, Dana. Who's also in the harem. She was another one in the harem.
Dana's the one that I was thinking of earlier, of the one that they said that she's very capable and would be. That's the one I was trying to reference earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Tom Cullen.
MOON spells suicide mission.
MOON spells saboteur.
Owen spells spider.
Wait, I remember being devastated when I read this decades ago. And now I'm like, Tom Cullen.
First time through, I was like, really? And then I was like, okay. And then I'm continue on listening to Nick's thing, and I'm like, okay, nope. He convinced me on I was in Stu and Larry's point. I'm like, okay, that makes sense and what they can do. I love the quick exposition of we can hypnotize. We've hypnotized them and all this and blah blah blah. Just
there we go.
That's a thing. Yeah,
that's a thing.
I thought that was a little. I thought that was a little convenient. The hypnotizing thing with the.
I will say the miniseries did it well in the 95 miniseries, whenever. did it well. They actually had a scene of, hey, let's try this, and they show you.
Yeah, that was funny. MOO head spells. Hi, bitch, they go kill you. That's from our friend AK in the chat. That's hilarious.
But you know, like the miniseries actually did it where they showed the scene of, we can try this and we're gonna give them the instructions and, you know, see if it works, kind of thing. And they just explained it out a bit better than just, oh yeah, it's a thing that works.
We might be getting that. That might be coming. I don't remember if that's in the book or not. It might be coming.
We get kind of described what they did. Pretty.
I'm saying though, we might get like
the actual
more of it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but what I'm saying is like they showed the testing in the miniseries,
know.
like so that's all.
The only last thing I wanted to say on that conversation is I really did like that we got the discussion and the counterpoints and like all the reasons it's a terrible idea and all the reasons it's like we know, but it's also a good idea because it's probably going to work.
That's what makes it great.
It was a really great scene because I first thought I was like, yeah, I don't know. That seems not really fair to Tom. Like I was kind of with what like Franny and Susan, I guess, who were like, I mean, he really can't decide for himself. I mean, like that's taking someone's free will out of their own hands kind of thing. And like they had those discussions and like all the things that you hear the idea and like you quickly go through your head, like, but for this and this and this, it kind of works. For this and this, it's really not a fair idea. They work through it and they get to a spot that at least everyone ended up agreeing and taking the responsibility as a team. And I don't know. Melissa, how do you feel on the decision on how they got there? And I don't know, you've read it many times, I know.
Yeah. So that skews it a bit for me, but at the same time, like the teacher mom in me is like, what the hell? You guys are taking advantage of somebody's disability and basically having him sacrifice himself in a way that he doesn't know he's being asked to do it, right? You're conscripting him and you're conscripting somebody who would have been exempt from the draft.
Right.
That's essentially it, right? I'm drafting you, except the draft would not, because this is somebody who obviously can't make those kinds of decisions for them. Right. Okay.
Right.
Now, having said that, I'm like, once you get over your emotional response to it, because that's the emotional response, which again, I go back to how come it was the girls who had to have the emotional. Okay. I
agree. I felt the same thing.
I'm just going to set that here, but
I had the same thing though. I was like, oh, the girlies are the only ones that have the problem with like the ethical, moral side of this. Like, come on, split
right.
That. Anyway,
and I that's a better way to say it. It's a moral problem. I have a problem with it morally, but as a general, when I'm thinking logically about what are my best assets, and yeah, like Tom Cullen, they're never going to see that coming.
And it fits the story of like, they're not going to question it because, yeah, they probably did kick him out to not spoil the gene pool. Like,
right. They kicked out the old guy. They kicked out
some woman.
Right.
I mean, again, some woman, like all of them have valid reasons for feeling like they got pushed out. That Flag will just eat that shit up.
That if they're pushing out, you know, like
Navy SEALs, they'd be like, something's up here. Like, what?
Right. You want it to look like you're weeding out the weaklings.
Right. And that's something that Flag's gonna understand.
And going back to the emotional response.
Hold on. Just let me Flag's gonna understand and then try to that's the word. Thank you. I knew it started with Z. Go on, Benji.
Yeah, so going back to the emotional response, which typically I'm not the emotional response guy, where it's like, that's kind of that's mean. When Nick said, if we tell Tom this is for Mother Abigail, pulling on those heartstrings, that was fucked. I mean, that one
manipulative, isn't it?
Yes, like it's just like, and I get it. You have to use your tools at your advantage, and you use what you can. But it's like, come on. you know, like I had to walk away while you were talking just to take care of business. And I heard what you were saying, Melissa, and I'm like, oh, because that one really resonated with me when he said, yeah, he loves Mother Abigail. He'll do anything for him. If we tell him that she wants this, you know, kind of thing, he'll walk in fire for her. And it's like, yes, don't fucking do that to that kind of person. And I get it. You know, it does make sense. Send the old guy. Send the feed.
It's a good plan. It's just not a good human thing.
Yes, exactly.
And if anybody else had suggested it, I think it would have been an immediate no. But this is Nick.
Right.
Yes,
It's Tom's
been with Tom
person.
Yeah.
And because he understands that sometimes the strategy has to come before the morals, because it's a war.
And they even specifically say, like, wow, I guess we really are all politicians now. Like, it takes those to be leaders effectively sometimes. I mean, it's unfortunate nature of it.
And that's the part of leadership a lot of people don't recognize. And they either want all the power, or they don't want it and they're not ready to find the balance. So, okay. Last chapter. Holy crap. Tired. Okay. Review.
All right. In the early hours of the morning, Mother Abigail lays sleepless in her bed. Mother Abigail has a vision and wanders into the wilderness to repent her vanity. Everyone panics and searches for her. Franny sneaks into Harold's place while he's helping with the search. Glenn's dog Kojak turns up in Boulder. He's followed them across the whole country. We get Kojak's travel story from the doggy POV. Good dog, Kojak. Which, yes, I'm glad we got this, but we'll get to that. It'll be a short discussion. So I forget that Abigail just basically had a dream of, like, because she was starting to look at herself as the Pope-ish, you know, prophet. Yeah. And she needed to take a sabbatical for it. And she fucked off. She's like, I'm gone.
She realized how much power she was gaining. And she was pulling the humility card, right? And because she believes that, you know, she believes, okay, I did my part. They're going to keep putting me higher on a pedestal, almost icon type thing, you know, and she's trying to be very careful about that. And so she's almost removing herself from the political game so that it doesn't become her God mission being bastardized for whatever the politics that are going to happen are. And so I think she's very aware of what's going on and doesn't want to become some false figurehead, almost like what we just talked about with Tom Cullen of, well, this is for Mother Abigail. Like, she doesn't want that to necessarily be the thing. And she is basically calling herself out for kind of believing some of those things. And she's basically repenting for her sins of vanity, as it says. You know, she put herself too high, and now she needs to take herself out of it to become humble again.
Exactly. She looked at her more self as a not a prophet, but a lightning rod. Can't think of a better term, but to draw everybody to her to collect them. But she wasn't meant to be their guiding light. Like I like that's the mentality.
She was the beacon.
Thank you. Yes, the beacon. You know, to call them together, but not to, you know, be the ongoing guide. So yeah, that's why she needs to take her vocation, whatever. Something
for 40 days and 40 nights of wandering in the it's biblical.
Sabbatical was a good word you used earlier too, Ben.
Yeah,
I know. I'm trying to think of another, but so and that's pretty much it. Melissa, you got anything on the Mother Abigail part of it?
I hope you have good shoes.
Yeah.
I don't think you wore shoes.
She's a barefooter. You know, she barely wears her teeth. You know, so it's.
If anybody's gonna make it,
right?
If you can make it there, you can make it at. Oh, we're out of. Sorry, we did that.
Yeah. So the next section is the part I want to talk about because before we find out the reveal that she was gone, we have Glenn meeting Stu, and he starts talking to him about the meeting the previous night about Tom and all of it. And this is where you said the females had the caution and the concern and everything.
Mhm.
And Glenn's like, you know what? Franny's words got to me. And I thought about it, and he had his second thoughts and everything. And so I'm glad that they didn't just stick with, oh, it's the women folk being upset and everything. And
No, it's
at
going to be
least-
the old sociologist and not the young, strong men who don't have feelings.
There's one feeling. Get over yourself.
I had a feeling
Emotional
once.
range
I
of a
didn't like it.
teaspoon. Anyone?
Yeah. So I mean, I would just bring, like, I wanted to get to this point just because I do remember Glenn saying that, like, where he was like, it kind of got to me, and I wanted to think about it, and Stu then talked him into, yeah, just shut up. We're agreed. This is what's going on. So all right. So I'm trying to remember, like, I just listened to this chapter today, and yeah, I mean, there's parts that stand out, but like the Abigail thing, no recollection.
Yeah, they basically just go all out driving, right? And
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
It was Stu. I do remember he went to Harold, like it was his idea to go find people that were willing to go look for her, because there was half the group that was like, she's out doing her thing.
Harold
comes
had the
back.
idea to go find Mother Abigail.
Yes, but Stu went to Harold to ask his opinion. That's the thing. And because there was half the group, like Nick and Ralph, who were saying she's going to do her thing. Either she comes back or she doesn't. It's God's will kind of mentality.
Mhm.
And Stu was like, I want another opinion on it. And he goes to Harold to ask his kind of thing. And that's when we get Franny's input of, her still worrying about Harold finding her diary, kind of thing. And then she gets the note from Stu, oh yeah, gone with Harold and Ralph, be back by 9:30. And Franny's like, fuck. Because right now is the perfect time for shit to happen. For some reason. Like in her mind, he could have read the book 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But now, because she just realized that he read the book, now something's gonna happen.
Well, that's
Even-
that's a
yeah.
really common thing. As soon as you get a piece of information
Yes.
that drastic and you're this hyper anxiety stressed out about it, everything is related to it. Everything
true.
is related to that. So now the fact that Harold and Stu are off together alone in a way, like it's a perfect opportunity for Harold to do something. If he's plotting something,
Yeah.
it's a perfect time.
Which she actually was right. I mean,
Right. And so like, yeah, it's a little story convenient for sure. But like in her hyper anxiety
Yes.
about this whole thing right now, that's exactly what she would think. Like, oh shit, what if he was plotting something and it was his idea to like go out and this is just the pretext that Harold had been looking
Right.
for to now have an
Which
opportunity.
it was.
And it is like I agree, it's irrational of her to think this, but it's also exactly what she would think. And it also is exactly true.
yeah,
But it's
so
not true because she thinks it.
It's not true because she thinks
Yes.
it, but it's also happens to be true because it is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true because of the
So-
way that it is.
So let's do the Franny
Harold?
thing, breaking into Harold's house. So she goes, and while she knows Harold's out with Stu, she's going to go looking for evidence. She doesn't know what she's looking for, but she breaks into his house through the cellar and everything, and somebody knocks on his door. Nadine randomly knocks on Harold's door while Franny's inside. That's an interesting dynamic because of what we know, because we're getting Harold's tidbits here and there throughout this chapter of I can just fuck off and I can go west and I can join up with them and everything. So he's already got the mentality of he's already able to go there. We already know Nadine, so now she's coming to combine their powers. With all our powers combined, we're Captain Planet.
I was putting
Yeah.
my ring in with you.
People are so young.
Hey, pollution is the real enemy.
89.
Pollution is
was
the
a-
real enemy here, Melissa.
Voltron is a much better let's put our powers together kind of thing.
Wonder Twins is even older than Voltron though. So
Okay, I can't.
That's
We're not talking about him.
we're not
that.
talking about Wonder Twins right now. You weren't even there for it. We got to talk about that later. Oh, if he would have been there, good grief.
Did he know them? Okay, sorry. So Franny goes and tromps around his house. She doesn't really find anything.
and that's the story on that.
But then someone knocks
like
on the
the-
door while she's there.
Right.
Right.
He said
That's-
Nadine.
Sorry,
That's
sorry,
what I was
sorry.
saying. That's what I was talking about. That's
Yeah.
the big part of the story was Nadine was coming to talk to Harold or coming to find Harold at this point. That's the big takeaway from this section of this chapter. She goes away. Franny scampers off and leaves footprints. Whoops. And the door
Honestly, if she would just close the door, it probably wouldn't have been noticed.
would have gone on. Yeah. Close the basement door. So then we get Stu, Harold, and Ralph up in the mountains, up in the hills.
The hills are alive with potential
Abigail
gunfire.
dying. But yeah, so we get Harold mainly from Harold's perspective from this. And he's hearing the talk coming back from, and he's doing the snarky 17, 18-year-old, just fuck you, flipping off the walkie-talkie every time Stu talks,
Sorry, my teacher face, just like oh my God. Yeah.
But that was perfect. It was perfectly written for that
Yes.
age group, for that, angsty,
Spiteful.
whatever. Yeah, spiteful. He's just, full of hate. He's like smiling. He's smiling and he's just talking to the mic. Yes, Stu, I'm right here. I'll hear you. Like you do on the phone. Like when you're talking to somebody that you really don't like, but you're trying to like make that sale or do something. Okay, coming from a salesman, you're talking to
I
somebody
don't
that you
talk to people.
I know, but like
Tell
I'm
with
talking
a
to somebody
smile,
that I'm
it comes through on the phone.
you have to smile while you're talking. It comes through on the phone.
Silly,
It really
but
does.
It comes through.
It absolutely does. And so I'm like talking. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'll be there tomorrow and I'll take care of that for you. Not a problem. You're fuck you. Like,
Please
as soon as I
stop
hit the button,
calling me.
yes,
That's how mine is.
it's, you hit the button. You're like, okay, and you double check. Oh fuck. Okay. But anyway, so that's Harold on the radio, and it's like very well written of that scene. And he's coming up with the idea of they've been out hunting all day, can't find Abigail, and he's like, I can make it back to Stu, I can plunk him, kill him, I can even kill Ralph. That's not a problem. I get back to my house, get my ledger, get my stuff. I can be gone an hour and a half head start before anybody even realizes. And then he meets up with Stu. And Stu shakes his hand.
He's like really decent to him.
Yeah.
Well, because earlier, like Stu was like, I think I really like him. I don't think I gave him a fair shake.
Yeah.
Okay, remember that whole Stu doesn't maybe have a flaw?
This is a believing in. Give it a guy a chance.
I know, but like,
this is the
read the
Superman
room,
flaw.
man.
This is the Superman flaw. Ignore the negatives. Try to look for the positives. And you're
assume positive intent.
exactly. And so it's one of those. It's a good scene with them, and then Ralph, and then randomly Nick and Larry show up too, because I guess they did decide to come with them, or no, it wasn't Nick, it was Glenn. Glenn and Larry were there, or Glenn and Nick, and Larry wasn't invited. But either way, but it was like, and Harold's like, I could kill them all and just be gone, but there's just too much effort. Just he just basically fat guided. He's like, I'll do it later.
Yeah, I think it was also a risk reward kind of conversation to himself too, of like, what if I can't do it? Like that's for 2, you get the surprise and the time between 2, like the fallout after the surprise. But with 3 or 4, that goes way down. Like it's a much tougher thing at that point. Not speaking from experience, I'm just saying.
No, you're not wrong, because you take out the first one, maybe get the second one, but by that point 2 and 3 and 4 are on top of you, and you have to weigh the
Exactly.
rationale. I was going with the mental thought of Harold. He's the big guy, but he's not. Because even when it was just him and Stu, he could have done it. He could have easily shot him, threw him off the cliff, and just fucked off before Ralph made it back.
I think he is having an internal struggle too.
It is,
right, because of what Stu just like showed him some real respect, and he still doesn't like the guy, but he hesitates because of that, because of the decency that he was shown. Like it basically, Stu just saved his own life by being decent to this kid.
Yep, goes a long way being nice.
Yeah, Melissa.
All right. So So last part of the chat. Well, no, second to last part of the chapter. Fast forward the next morning. Stu came home, kind of talked to Franny and everything. Gave her a rundown. Fran doesn't reveal her thoughts at this point, or her concerns and everything. But then Glenn busts in without even knocking, which seems kind of dickish, but still busts in without even knocking and says, "My dog's back." Cujo made it cross country to Boulder, Colorado from New Hampshire, 2,000 plus miles, and they're in awe. They're in shock, which, as you would, like, yep, it's the same damn dog. And I like that Glenn, like, who was originally was like, yeah, he's a dog. When we first met Glenn and first met Cujo, or Kojak, not Cujo, but Kojak, it was like, yeah, he's a dog. I found him. He's, there, and I feel bad leaving him, but I can't take him. And it was this very kind of thing. But he has to like break away and go cry, in the house.
He should, because he left the poor dog to fend for himself.
As you
And then he
do. I mean,
followed him. Could have
Yeah.
made it happen.
you could. I mean, yes. Going back to I'll take a four-wheel drive trip. We'll figure it out, over a motorcycle. I'm bringing my goddamn dog. My dog's alive. I'm taking that fucking dog. But I get it.
Did
Yeah,
we
but it was a
reference
cute-
this? Was there a similar character with a dog in Cell? Like an older man? Or I'm just maybe thinking of the school.
There was a cat
the guy
that they fed.
Anyway, never mind.
House. No, I don't think anybody had their dog with them.
Okay. Disregard. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I
know
like
the
that we got
character-
Kojak's point of view.
Yes. Yeah, we get the whole story. We get my favorite part of it was, as other animals do, they can read the telepathic mentality, and he heard it from the wolf. Wasp in my brain, wasp in my brain, wasp in my brain. And it's like, okay, so the wolves that are being controlled by Flag are, not obviously doing by free will. They're being
Groupthink.
controlled.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
Did that wasps in the brain? Did that resonate with any of you from anywhere else? Because I could not.
Like-
There was like a tickle of like, I feel like that's from something, and it could just be that I've heard it here before because
It
I've read the book.
sounds familiar. I feel
Yeah.
like it something like what am I trying to think of?
That line was I can
Like revival or
Or maybe
what's the other one I'm thinking of?
the outsider, maybe,
Outsider, maybe
That could
yeah,
be.
Yeah.
right? Or like,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
it Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery? I don't know. Just or
think
or was
Outsider
it
would
was
be-
it
I think
Cujo when he
Outsider-
was
It might be Cujo. Like it could be Cujo of when
Yeah,
he was
I-
going through his rabies phase
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, that very much could be, but it sounded familiar. It doesn't resonate the wasp in the brain fit line, but the mentality does. So it could be Cujo. Could be
yeah.
very
It-
similar.
it just-
Anyway,
It
Yeah.
felt like a thing.
yes.
Apparently there's a
But I
reference
liked
with
that-
Jack Torrance with wasps as well.
Yeah, that's because he
got
smokes out all
stung
the
by-
wasps. No, he smokes out all the wasps and takes the empty wasp nests and put it in Danny's room. And then in the
Yeah.
middle of the night, a million wasps come
Girl
out and
Who
sting
Loved
Danny.
Tom Gordon. There's a throat full of wasps reference.
There is. That's at the end when she throws the thing at the weird guy.
And the venom of the wasp's initial sting attacks the brain's escape from the outsider.
So
So it's in a hand, at least wasps in general, and I'm sure there's a
Mhm.
yeah,
more specific one that.
Yeah,
it's been
I
a
don't
thing.
know.
It's been around.
yeah. But I honestly just like the description of that, because if somebody's attacking your brain mentally, human, dog, whatever, it would feel probably like a wasp or something in your head. And a dog's mentality, like their best recollection of something attacking the brain would be a wasp, because most dogs would have experience with getting stung by something, or a bug having the wrong thing. So I just like the simplification of the thought process.
feel like it's a
Uh,
lot like what again Harry Potter, like Imperious Curse would be. It's a lot
yes.
like you're free to have your free will until it goes against what your prime directive from the controller needs you to be doing. And then that's going to come in until you do the thing that's kind of guiding you the way that it needs you to go, kind of thing. I know it's not a directly thing, but it's a controlling entity kind of thing that I bet there aren't that many wasps if they're doing exactly what he wants.
All right, we're gonna jump to questions because whew,
Yeah.
this was long. My question was the one about what inside of each living person determines how they perceive the flag dreams versus the Mother Abigail dreams. We don't necessarily have to go into it too much because again,
We're running.
yes. So I think like, is it an innate goodness? Because I'd hate to think that everybody going to flag is terribly evil. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it's just, like, because look, think of it as Star Wars. I have some of my best friends in the world that, would absolutely say, oh, I'm Empire or I'm Jedi or a Mandalorian, but they're still great, good people. It's just what realm do you fall in the mindset of, do I want to work? Do I want to live kind of mentality? Am I happier just being a
Sorry, I'm answering a chat question.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, sorry. But like, so like, am I happy just being a worker bee, or am I happy being a a theologian, being a thinker, being a bohemian, and I think that has more to do with it over the good versus evil. It's the mentality. It's the, not work ethic, but that's the best term I can come up with.
So I think I'm in the area that you're thinking about, and
go for it. I'm listening.
It's kind of like, do you want to be there to build something from the ground up, or do you want to be involved and just be a part of something that is maybe already going, to some extent? Like, it's easier to follow sometimes. Some people are just followers, and that's okay. Like, they don't need to contribute anything more than what they're being asked to do specifically. Where other people like to have a chance to have a say and be a part of something that's more malleable. I guess my main point with that is I don't think everyone over in Flag's side is an awful human necessarily. I think there are certain benefits.
I know
certain benefits that joining a side like that it seems like you're going to get your best wishes fulfilled.
But here's my problem. It's not like they got 2 really good commercials and picked one.
Mm-hmm. It's the inherent initial perception of what those characters
they got this happy, warm, and loving come to Nebraska, or they got some sort of like welcome to Vegas. Yeah. They didn't get both and then choose.
Mm-hmm.
It was, here's a good place, or I don't know, maybe here's a good place, because I don't, and I'm sure Flag's version of good looks different, but what did he do to pick the people who went to him to get the positives?
So the only thing I have with that is I think Flag was sending out very individualized messages to be tempting. And certain people would pick up on that more so than the, hey, come to a nice, tranquil place. They were very direct.
Come to me. I will take care. Come to me. I will take care of you. I will,
So why did our people get negative things?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like that's what I'm looking for. I'm just.
It's tough. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I just want to make sure that we're not like.
And for the record,
because it's not like they're getting the same. They're not getting the same broadcast
message. Yeah.
It's really about the news source.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, perfect mentality.
The marketing.
Whatever your mentality lies, like politically wise, you can watch Fox News and hear one thing, and watch CNN and hear another thing.
That's what I'm saying. My question is, where was that determination being made on which version each person was getting. I realize we don't have that information. That's just my general wondering.
No, fair. And yeah, it kind of just boils down to the person of who they are at their core. It's the sword. It's the new age sorting
I
hat.
don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe it is, and maybe it's proximity, like the Mason-Dixon line, right? Like I got north, you got
The
south.
continental divide.
Well, no, because they all moved
I
to
don't
the
know where
continental divide.
Well, I don't know where Boulder falls on the like.
It's east.
They just is the east. There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, so I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, but
know.
I mean, but then you get Trashy, who came from Indiana.
But he's special.
He is special, true. But you had the kid who was from Louisiana.
So could be north and south. I don't know.
I know.
I think it's
Well,
that's what I mean. Like
Lloyd was way east,
California.
too. Oh, was he?
he was.
No, he was Arizona. They were going Arizona. They were all
Yeah. So
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
he's
My
already.
bad, my
yeah.
bad.
But Nadine, who's from the Northeast, is
Yeah,
again
it's
special,
definitely a
but
geographic thing.
it's not geographic. I think it's just where your perceptors go. Like I said, you tune to Fox News, you tune to CNN. That's where
Right.
it's who's you're going to be more drawn to. Neither side are right, and neither side are wrong for the side that you're all both think their side's right, kind of thing. I
'Cause in
guess
real
that's
life,
about
there are only two opinions. So,
it. Right.
let's.
All right.
Ben, do you
I got
have a
one.
question?
Yeah, we kind of already covered it. So, was it a proper response of the Boulder crew to want to send spies into Flags Camp without any real provocation?
Yes.
We kind of already covered that. So, yes.
The
I think they
best
jumped the gun a bit.
defense is a good offense.
Fair.
At
Yeah.
least that's what I've been told people say in sports.
Depends. Good defense is usually good defense too, but just depends. It's a philosophy thing.
I don't know. That would require sporting.
But yeah, you don't sport. It's okay. I like that you're trying. I appreciate you.
Do you get? Do I get a participation award for that?
No, I don't do that.
Oh.
All right. So I have a question, and I'm going to say it's not really related to this section at all. It's more related to the chat that we've had in the live stream chat. Batman or Superman? There you go. That's the burning question right now.
I wish I had something to
I mean-
prove my love for Batman.
So Melissa,
Batman.
you're firmly in the Batman anti-Superman camp.
And I have been for a very long time.
Same. I'm same. Superman has no flaws. That's why he's boring, and he's just meh. So, yeah, no.
I grew up
Fair.
watching
Follow.
both of them on the cartoons. I still like
As
both
did
of
I.
them, and I do like both of them. And I watched them back to back with X-Men and Spider-Man.
See, X-Men.
The
X-Men is
cartoons
my
all
ultimate choice over
back-to-back,
all of them,
and
so.
I like all of them. So there you go. And Marvel is second rate to all four of those. And no, I don't really, until recently, didn't really count Spider-Man as the MCU, but I do appreciate those a lot as well.
Okay, I don't think you can answer a question of here are your two choices with here are my four other choices that I didn't give as options in my two choice question. So you fail.
That's what I'm here for.
And yeah, given the choice, X-Men beat all. X-Men are better than all. So, anyway, moving on. My favorite thing. Luke, you're the only one written, and you have the right answer.
I know,
so,
it's Trashy. Trashy is the best thing in this section. I loved his chapter. I loved every part of it, even the part that was just cringy and rough to listen to, where with
Really
the
rough.
kid, like it's not enjoyable to listen to that part. But there are so many really great things that again, not good things about Trashy. He is very enjoyable to be in his head. He's a very interesting character, and it's enjoyable to see his trek across the country to get to Cibola.
Melissa.
I like that. I feel like there was story there wasn't information. I felt like we'd had a lot of information and a little bit of plotting across the country, which is how it's supposed to feel in the first half of the book. But we hit the halfway mark, and it's not one thing, it's just the overall. I think we made it to the top of the hill. We're in Boulder. And now I think that ball's going to start rolling. I can feel it coming.
Yeah.
And I'm excited.
I agree with you entirely on that. At the end of last section, I was like, I feel like things are about to happen. And this was like, okay, push that boulder. Give it a push. I'm with you.
Benji.
Sorry, answering your question. So Luke's absolutely right. Trashy is the best part of this whole section that we did. Honorable mention, though, to the ad hoc committee meeting. I actually did really enjoy that.
I did too.
As much as I bitch about the choices that were made, it was very cool to see what an actual new start of a government, new Continental Congress, because I wasn't there to see it. And yeah, it would have been cool to be a fly on the wall for something like that. And that's what you get here, like the bare bones beginning of a government. Yeah, that was actually really cool. So I'll give that as an honorable mention on my favorite thing behind Trashy.
All right. Any final thoughts?
I'd really like the girls to stop being the emotional support animals for everybody else.
That's fair. I noticed it several times where I was like, really?
Yeah.
Dog sideways head cock.
I just go back to what is the value add?
Yes. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, I like that. And I think
this is my new life philosophy.
Yeah. No, I'm actually going to start kind of thinking about it that way. I've never, pictured it, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's been a main issue of mine with a lot of, not even just female characters, but characters in general, where I'm just like, what's the point? And
I don't mean the really cool little itty bitty characters he throws in every once in a while. You're like, man, that was cool that he just built this guy up. But your main characters, they should all have value add. And if you if you have a lot of women who aren't value add, that doesn't say anything about the women. And I know we say he writes women really well, and sometimes he does, but sometimes he doesn't. And this is one of those times.
And in general, absolutely. I think there are times, especially a book like this, and this instance that we're talking about, the ad hoc, is not relevant to what I'm about to say, is it's from a perspective of somebody else. And maybe they're not seeing the value add that the woman might be having. If we're in Stu's head or whoever, he might not realize what Franny is doing or whatever, or maybe Larry is a better option because he's had more difficult times with women, let's be honest, with Nadine and Rita. Like, he is going to be less likely to have noticed the valuable things that they were doing. And that's, in that case, it's Larry's flaw, right? It's Larry's. In this case, it is like a very dry narrator voice that is specifically just written as these are the things that they are portraying. And I think that's where this comes across a little clunky in the authorship.
Yeah. And the main issue with Franny is because we are getting from her POV. When we're hearing about Franny, almost exclusively, whenever Franny is brought up, it's from her POV. We don't hear about Franny from Stu's POV or anybody else's. We just hear from hers, and she brings nothing apart from worry and concern and everything like that. Worry about Harold finding the diary, worry about Tom Cullen being picked, worry about that.
The baby. Again, it's everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything is worry instead of add. And so I absolutely understand your point on that.
It's okay for a man to be the emotional compass.
Yeah.
It would be okay. Let's try that.
Exactly.
That's what Nick's for.
All right. Luke, any final thoughts?
No, a good chapter, a good section. I mean, I enjoyed this one, I think, more than the previous one. It just felt like more happened, even though it doesn't feel like anything actually happened yet, but it really feels like the things that needed to happen to get things to happen have actually happened.
Exactly.
That
That's,
fair.
Yeah.
that's how
No,
I
I
feel
mean-
about it, and I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Good section, and Trashy's a chosen one. That's all that matters.
In
All right.
Trashy, I
So,
trust.
and Trashy, I trust. So, with that said, make sure you're following us on social medias at Floats Down Here on Twitter and Instagram. Send us your emails to floatsdownhere@gmail.com. I got nothing funny for this one. Boom to boom to boom. There we go.
Digital boom to boom to booms.
Send your digital boom to boom. Make sure you're checking out all of our shows at the podcastthat.com. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes and on YouTube under Drawbridge Media.
This show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com are produced with the love and support of our wonderful Imaginary Legion patrons. You can learn more about our fabulous Imaginary Legion patron tiers at patreon.com/stayimaginary.
We'll be back second Monday of May. We try to go for the second Mondays. When we finish out the middle section, right? There's 3 books in the stand, book 1, book 2, book 3. We are still in book 2. We're going to finish it out. We're going to do chapters 53 through 60, which is 173 pages long.
All right. You'll float too.
Stay imaginary.
Thanks.
The podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first time Stephen King reader.